Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's story is one of those stories that quietly begins, but stays with you long after it ends. It is about the choices we make, the people we take for granted, and the consequences that sometimes arrive when we least expect them. And this is one of those stories. Welcome to the story of Malti. Sara, the owner of a quaint little coffee shop nestled in the heart of the town, was about to close up for the evening. The rain outside had turned into a torrential downpour, and the streets were nearly empty. As she wiped down the counters, her mind wandered to thoughts of a warm, comforting dinner at home. Just then, she noticed an elderly woman approaching the shop, her clothes clinging to her from the heavy rain. The woman appeared lost in her own world, oblivious to the cold and the rain that had soaked her to the skin. Her silver hair, now plastered to her face, and the distant look in her eyes made it clear she hadn't even realized how drenched she was. Sara's heart went out to her, and she quickly moved to unlock the door, letting the warm, inviting light spill out into the gloomy evening. She gestured for the woman to come inside, eager to offer her shelter and a hot cup of coffee. Before Sara could open her mouth, the woman spoke. Her voice was trembling, a blend of desperation and exhaustion. "I have come from far away in search of my son," she said, her eyes welling with tears that spoke of sleepless nights and endless worry. "I have been looking for him for 3 days without eating. Please, can you help me?" Sara's heart ached at the sight before her. The woman's face was etched with lines of worry and fatigue. Her clothes were dusty and torn from the relentless journey. She looked as though she might collapse at any moment, her hands shaking as she clutched at the air, searching for something, someone to hold on to. Her hair, once neatly tied, now fell in disheveled strands around her face, framing eyes that seemed haunted by fear and determination. Sara felt an immediate connection to her. As a mother herself, she could vividly imagine the torment of a missing child. She couldn't ignore the pain in the woman's eyes, a mirror to the anguish she would feel in the same situation. "I have a son too," Sara said gently, placing a reassuring hand on the woman's shoulder. "I can understand your pain. Please, come inside. Let's get you something to eat, and then we can talk about how to find your son." As the woman nodded, her tears began to fall freely. Sara led her into the shop, her mind racing with thoughts of how to help. She knew that no matter what, she couldn't let this mother face her ordeal alone. Drinking a hot cup of coffee, the elderly woman sighed and said, "My name is Malti, and I come from a faraway village. I used to live with my husband and my only son. My husband was a farmer, and I used to help him in the fields. Though we were poor, we had our own land and never let our boy lack for anything. We provided him with the best of everything and ensured he was well educated. 5 years ago, my son left for work in the city. He used to come home sometimes, but as time went on, his visits became less and less frequent. He didn't come when his father died, and I haven't seen him in 5 years." She paused, her eyes welling up with tears. "I miss him every day. I pray for his well-being, but I can't help but wonder if he thinks of his old mother, waiting for him back in the village. The house feels so empty without his laughter. The fields, once full of life, now seem lonely. I hold on to the hope that one day he will walk through that door and call out to me again." Sara was stunned as she listened to Malti's story. She couldn't bear to imagine what Malti was going through. After all, she was a mother too. Her 8-year-old son was the apple of her eye. She had married the man she loved, and their only son, Sonny, was the light of their lives. The thought of being separated from him was unbearable. After talking for a few minutes, Sara felt an unexpected closeness to Malti, as if they were old friends reuniting after a long separation. Malti reached into her worn purse and pulled out a small photograph, just as a sudden power outage plunged the room into darkness, accompanied by the booming sound of thunder from outside. "Malti," Sara began, "why don't you come upstairs with me? My home is just above. It's dark and cold out here. Stay with us for the night. My husband and son will be back soon from the movie theater, and I need to start dinner. We can continue our conversation tomorrow." Sara took Malti upstairs, guiding her into the warm, inviting kitchen. The aroma of spices and freshly chopped vegetables filled the air. Both women set to work, their hands deftly preparing ingredients for dinner. As they moved around the kitchen, their conversation flowed effortlessly, like the reunion of old friends who hadn't seen each other in years. They laughed and shared stories, the sound of their voices creating a lively atmosphere. Malti felt a comforting sense of familiarity despite the new surroundings. The kitchen, with its homely clutter and the gentle hum of the exhaust fan, became a cocoon of camaraderie and warmth. Soon, the front door creaked open, and the sound of footsteps echoed through the house. Sarah's husband and their young son, Sonny, entered, their presence bringing an extra burst of energy to the home. Mom, see what Dad bought for me!" Sonny's excited voice rang out as he ran into the kitchen, clutching a shiny new remote control car. His eyes sparkled with joy, and his cheeks were flushed with excitement. Sarah turned, a radiant smile spreading across her face. "Wow, Sonny, you got a new remote control car!" she exclaimed, bending down to scoop him up into her arms. She twirled him around, both of them laughing with delight. They hugged tightly, and she kissed his forehead, her love for him evident in every gesture. Malti watched this tender scene unfold, a lump forming in her throat. The sight of Sara and Sonny embracing so lovingly made her heart ache with a deep, familiar longing. She missed her own son terribly, and the pain of their separation felt especially acute in this moment of familial affection. Just then, Sarah's husband walked into the kitchen. He was a tall man with a kind face, but his steps faltered when he saw Malti. For a brief moment, he stood still, his eyes widening in surprise. The room seemed to hold its breath as their eyes met, a silent exchange passing between them. Sara, noticing the sudden tension, looked up and introduced them. "Oh, honey, this is Malti. She's staying with us for a while." Her husband's expression softened, and he extended a hand to Malti. "Nice to meet you, Malti. I'm glad you're here." Malti took his hand, feeling a mix of emotions. "Thank you for having me," she replied softly, grateful for the kindness, but still carrying the weight of her own heartache. The moment passed, and the room filled with the comforting sounds of dinner preparation and family chatter once more. Yet, for Malti, the evening's events had stirred something deep within her, a poignant reminder of the love she longed to reunite with. That night, as Sara and her husband settled into bed, the room dimly lit by the soft glow of the bedside lamp, he turned to her with a concerned expression. "Who is Malti and why is she here?" he asked, his voice low but insistent. Sara sighed, knowing this conversation was inevitable. She recounted everything she knew about Malti, how they met, Malti's heart-wrenching story of searching for her lost son, and the inexplicable bond she felt with her. "But why are you showing sympathy to someone we don't know? Who knows if her story is even true? Even if she is searching for her son, that's her business. We don't need to keep her here. She looks so poor and old. What would people think if they saw her here?" Her husband's voice grew sharper, tinged with irritation and concern. Sara was taken aback by his harsh words. She had always known her husband cared about their image and wealth, but this stark display of pride and prejudice was new to her. She knew they were well off, but that didn't mean they couldn't extend a hand to someone in need. "I like her. After all, she is a mother like me," Sara said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I don't think she's lying. Just look at her. She seems so pure, innocent, and humble. Anyway, I intend to keep her. She can help me around the house. How can I just send her away?" Her husband's expression hardened. "I know you like helping people, but we don't know her. We've all heard stories of strangers who come into homes and then turn on their hosts, robbing them or worse. We need to be cautious." Sara looked at him, her eyes reflecting a blend of disappointment and determination. "I understand your concerns, but this is different. I feel something profound when I'm with her, a connection that I can't ignore. It's not just about helping someone, it's about recognizing her as a person, a mother in distress. We can't just turn our backs on her." Her husband sighed, rubbing his temples. He was torn between his protective instincts and his wife's unyielding compassion. "All right, but promise me you'll be careful. If anything seems off, we reconsider." Sara nodded, grateful for even this reluctant concession. "Thank you. I promise we'll be cautious. But for now, she stays." As they lay in the quiet of the night, Sara's thoughts lingered on Malti. She didn't fully understand the bond she felt with her, but she was certain of one thing. She wouldn't let Malti face her struggles alone. When Sara woke up the next morning, she was pleasantly surprised to find her house spotless and a delightful aroma wafting from the kitchen. Curious and drawn by the scent, she peeked inside and saw Malti busily preparing breakfast. As soon as Malti noticed her, she greeted Sara with a warm smile and handed her a cup of steaming tea. Sara felt a wave of happiness wash over her, seeing her home in order without having lifted a finger. She settled into a chair, savoring the first sip of her tea. "Oh, Malti, why did you do all this? I didn't ask you to work. You're my friend, and I want you to feel at home here," Sara said, touched by Malti's efforts. "I'm comfortable here, Sara, and I enjoy doing this. It makes me happy," Malti replied with a gentle smile. The two women began to chat, their conversation flowing easily as they sipped their tea. They talked about everything from their favorite childhood memories to their plans for the future. The morning sun streamed through the kitchen windows, casting a warm glow on their faces. After a while, they sat down to a hearty breakfast that Malti had lovingly prepared. The aroma of freshly cooked parathas, scrambled eggs, and the hint of spices filled the room. Sunny, Sara's young son, joined them at the table and quickly warmed up to Malti, feeling a sense of closeness and comfort in her presence. The three of them laughed and enjoyed their meal together, creating a lively and joyful atmosphere. However, the same could not be said for Sara's husband. He remained distant, barely uttering a word as he ate his breakfast. His silence was palpable, casting a slight shadow over the otherwise cheerful scene. Sara couldn't help but feel a twinge of concern, but decided to focus on the positivity of the moment. After breakfast, Sara and Malti cleared the table and continued their conversation. They shared stories and laughter, strengthening their bond of friendship. Despite the underlying tension with her husband, Sara felt grateful for Malti's presence and the sense of camaraderie they shared. As days turned into months, the bond between Sara and Malti deepened. Sara regarded Malti with the affection of a mother, and Malti, in turn, cherished Sara as if she were her own daughter. Sara's young son, Sunny, even called Malti Grandma. Malti dedicated her time to Sunny, cooking his favorite dishes and enchanting him with stories. Time seemed to fly by, each day blending seamlessly into the next. One day, while looking out into the garden, Sara noticed Malti and her husband having a conversation near the gate. Malti's posture was slouched, her head bowed, and it looked as if she were crying. Although her husband was speaking, Sara couldn't make out his words. When Malti came inside, her face was etched with sorrow. Sara, concerned, raised her eyebrows in silent inquiry, but Malti forced a smile, murmured about having a headache, and retreated to her room. Sara's worry deepened. She approached her husband, seeking answers. "What were you saying to Malti earlier?" Her husband sighed, reluctant to meet her eyes. "I just asked her how much longer she planned to stay with us." A wave of confusion and concern washed over Sara. "But why would you ask her that?" she pressed. He shifted uncomfortably. "Darling, it's been months. Don't you think it's time for her to leave? She's old, and if something were to happen to her, who would take responsibility?" Sara was taken aback, a silence falling between them. She thought of all the joy and comfort Malti had brought into their lives, especially to Sunny. The idea of her leaving felt like an impending loss, yet she couldn't find the words to challenge her husband's practical concerns. As the evening wore on and Malti remained sequestered in her room, Sara's anxiety grew. She returned to her husband, her voice barely a whisper. "Please, tell me what exactly you said to her." "She's been in her room all evening." Her husband hesitated before responding, his tone softer now. "I didn't mean to upset her. I just asked her if she had considered when she might return to her own home. I didn't realize it would affect her so deeply." Sara felt a pang of guilt and sorrow. She knew that Malti had nowhere else to go, that the old woman had found a new family with them. The thought of sending her away felt wrong, but she also understood her husband's concerns. The weight of the situation pressed heavily on her heart as she struggled to find a solution that would keep her family together. The next few days went by smoothly as usual. Malti didn't say anything, and Sara didn't want to ask and trouble her. Then, one evening, when everyone was relaxing in the living room, Malti approached Sara. Her eyes were determined, yet kind. "I have decided to go today. Please don't stop me. I've been thinking for days and have made up my mind," she said calmly. Sara was speechless. A whirlwind of emotions surged through her. She didn't know what to say or do. She barely had the strength to ask, "Why?" Malti looked at her with loving eyes, gently patting her cheek. I have lived here for long, Sara. Now I want to go back. Though I am poor, I have my own house and my farm. I miss them, she explained softly. But why can't you stay here? Sara asked, her voice trembling. Malti sighed, her eyes reflecting a deep, wistful sadness. I was married and brought to that house. My son was born there, my husband died there. I too want my last days to be in my own house, Malti said, her lips curling into a bittersweet smile. As soon as she heard, my son, Sara felt a wave of shame wash over her. How could she have forgotten her promise? She had vowed to help Malti find her son, but amidst the busyness of running her coffee shop and managing household duties, it had slipped her mind. But what about your son? You haven't found him, Sara said, her voice almost breaking. If God wills it, he will come for me. But now I just want to go home. Wherever he is, I know he is good and happy, Malti replied with serene acceptance. Sara's eyes welled up with tears. She reached out and grasped Malti's hands tightly. Let me help you pack, at least. And promise me you'll stay in touch, she pleaded. Malti nodded, her eyes misty yet resolute. Of course, dear. You've been like a daughter to me. I will never forget your kindness. As they prepared for her departure, the house was filled with a quiet, solemn energy. Sara helped Malti pack her few belongings, her hearts heavy with the impending farewell. Malti took her leave, and Sara asked her husband to find her a taxi. Sitting on the edge of the bed, still not believing Malti's departure, her eyes suddenly fell on the old purse lying on the floor. It was Malti's. She had seen it on the first day of their encounter. She picked it up and was about to go downstairs to call her when she remembered the photo. Opening Malti's purse, Sara found an old photograph. She took a look at the photo and remained motionless. It was a photo of her son, but the photo was old and the child in it was a bit older. Then she realized it, and all the pieces came together. She ran downstairs, calling for her son to hurry up. Malti and Sara's husband were just near the gate. Seeing Sara running towards them, they stood still, confused by her sudden urgency. Malti stopped in front of them, tears welling up in her eyes. Sonny, bow to your grandma and ask for her blessings, Sara said, her voice trembling with emotion. Sonny looked puzzled. He had already bid Malti farewell. But why, Mom? He asked, his young mind struggling to understand the sudden change. Sara took a deep breath, steadying herself. Sonny, she is your grandma, she repeated, her voice firmer this time. I know, Sonny replied, still confused. No, I mean she is your real grandma. She is your father's mother, Sara said, her voice breaking as she revealed the truth. Everyone stood still, shocked by the revelation. Sonny just looked at his parents and his grandma, trying to process the information. Sara looked at her husband, who was staring into the distance, his face a mask of shock and regret. Malti looked at Sara and saw the photograph clutched in her hands. She knew then that Sara had discovered everything. The two women embraced, tears streaming down their faces. Oh, Mummy, please forgive me. I didn't know. Why didn't you tell me? Sara sobbed, her voice choked with emotion. Malti lovingly caressed her hair. I came in search of my son who abandoned me, but I found a daughter who loves and respects me. How could I make you unhappy by telling you the truth? She replied, her voice filled with sorrow and love. I came looking for my son, and you helped me. But when I found out that my son was your husband, I couldn't say anything. When I saw that he was not happy to see me and didn't want to recognize me, I was heartbroken. I died then and there. I wanted to run away that night, but seeing my grandson, I became selfish. I wanted some time with him, Malti said, her voice cracking with emotion. Then Malti blessed Sara and her grandson. Without looking at her son, she turned and walked away. Sara watched her go, feeling a mix of sorrow and anger. She looked at her husband, her eyes filled with a newfound hatred. The depth of her loathing was almost palpable, a seething mass of emotions churning within her. She despised him with an intensity that took her breath away, feeling utterly betrayed and deceived by the man she had once loved so deeply. She loathed him for his callousness, for his cruelty, for the way he had shattered her trust. Every action, every word, was now seen through the lens of his betrayal. She saw him as a coward, a man without honor or compassion. The thought of him abandoning his mother, a woman who had given him life and love, filled her with a disgust so profound it made her physically ill. The man she had loved was gone, replaced by the monster she now saw before her. Without saying a word, she took her son's hand and slowly walked back upstairs, leaving her husband standing by the gate, alone with his guilt and regret.